How's it, people? I'm PreyaG, and thank you for following my blog, I Am What I Am. So those of you that know me or you follow the blog know that I'm quite passionate about a lot of things. One of the things I'm passionate about, as you would have noticed, is cooking. I guess, well, I look so good because I eat so good. One of the other things that I'm quite passionate about is people. I think I'm passionate about making friends, learning about people, understanding people, and just being with people. And the top-notch part of people that I am passionate about are people who are passionate about people. And today, the reason that I'm doing this video is I want to focus on a person who is extremely passionate about people. I want to focus on an angel in society, an angel in our community that goes out of her way to do selfless service, and she sacrifices the world to do what she does, to make people happy, to grow people, to fight so many injustices that happen in the world, in our little world, in our little community that happens here. And what she does makes a difference every day. So today, I would like to make this vlog about a person that I've been drawn to, a person of humility, an amazing soul, Videshni Naidu Singh. Welcome, Videshni.
Thank you so much, Preya. Wow, with that introduction, there's just too much of an expectation to follow.
I think you embody whatever I've said, and I think it's something, I want to be you when I grow up.
Thank you, sis.
So Videshni, who is Videshni?
I think most definitely it starts with mum and wife. My life from the time I was 14 years old has been teaching children in the ashram. So one very huge influence in my life is my spiritual mentor, and I think everything that I have done in my life has been laid purely at his feet. I do believe that I give my life to bringing women together. I believe that in this world, nobody can support a woman like another woman. We understand each other's bodies. We know what childbirth does. We know what diseases do to us. We operate from that vulnerability that just constantly draws us, enables us to bring life into this world, enables us to rear children, and also fill ourselves with, I think, the most divine feminine energy that is equivalent, that is prevalent in every woman being that you see.
Absolutely.
And I think that is where the inspiration comes. I've been guided and I've been blessed by beautiful people, and one of them in my journey has been you. I've crossed paths with many people, and I think my new word in life, even though I've lived it, has been people that are authentic. And for me, that is what Preya is about. So I accepted this purely because it came from Preya's good energy.
And I think, it's so important that we feed off people that are authentic and that are true to themselves, are true to their beliefs, and stand up for what they believe in. So you've done that. You've done that for all your life, Videsh. You've made a lot of sacrifices. And right now, I want you to just tell the followers on my page and people that are going to watch this video, what do you do? What do you do? And what are you doing in the communities? And what are the projects that you're working on and how they can help?
Okay, so on the drive here, I knew that when you asked me to sit with you today, I was going to focus on, the organizations that I run and give you some background there, and also tell you about things like the upcoming events, because it's important to me that those things are supported. But I think I've been so embroiled in what is going on in our country now, especially the position of vulnerability of women and children everywhere, that I feel more than using the message for the organizations, I want to to leave a firm message about the fact that, being mothers, being sisters, we feel very deeply when a child is harmed, when a child dies, when a sister is harmed. And unfortunately, because of the inauthenticity of the world, where we believe we have to shed off what is real and put on these masks daily, especially if we, returning to corporate jobs and the like, where you have to be like the alpha female constantly. We surround ourselves by so many layers that it will just take, another whole trail of murders and killings and rapes and kidnappings to stir us again. So we are constantly in this cycle of...
And it is a cycle.
It is. We're constantly in the cycle of being affected and then feeling okay about things. I think what has been my biggest curse is that every time that I have learned about people that are suffering, I call it a curse because it doesn't allow me to sleep until I can try to do something about the situation. And of course, I'm human. I have children. A lot of what I've done, in fact, I was just sharing with you about how vulnerable I felt over these last 2 weeks. I'm doing everything on the basis of not having a proper income. I have an angel of a husband who, basically supports the work I do. And yet, in the last 2 weeks, without a vehicle, I felt as if, my limbs had been cut off because that vehicle was transport for beneficiaries of social services. It was like an all-round goods delivery vehicle. We used to, take our donations in them. And I just want to say that every time we hear about the crime and we hear about women and children being victims of abuse and kidnappings and rape, we're stirred to act, but we don't know how to. And it positions us in a state of vulnerability. And I think we've been taught in this world to lose that vulnerability. Yet, for me, the greatest courage comes out of staying in that emotion.
Exactly.
Out of believing that, it is vulnerability is where absolute courageousness lies. Because the truth of all my work is that I've entered this arena of social services as well, not knowing if I'm going to succeed in anything. And that is what being vulnerable is about.
Of course.
It's about being all in everything that you are doing. It's about being all in with the possible failures and the possible successes and still acting. And I've been reading so much of Brené Brown recently, and everything is around being the person in the arena. And I've realized that I've lived a large part of my life just being that person, always trying.
So you started off in the legal fraternity.
Yes, I did.
You left all of that to join the social services, and that was a huge leap of faith for you. But it's doing what you love, and it's doing where you found yourself to give back to the community and to follow what your guru or your teacher had planned for you in your life. And that's always something that you've maintained, which is amazing because it's a huge sacrifice on you, like you said, with your income and all of that. And it's a struggle, but you do it. You do it. You sacrifice so much. I mean, people would never do things like that, Videsh. It's amazing. It amazes me. And it just speaks to the love that you have for humanity. It's not just the love of people that you feel for or whatever. It's people you don't know that you actually help on a daily basis. And you still have time for your friends, and you still have time to lend a shoulder when we feel sick or when we need a shoulder to cry on. So, Videsh, ultimately, you started the Light Workers
Yes.
organization. Tell us about that.
So my journey with the Light Workers began 6 years ago, and strangely enough, it started in a satsang. So I was surrounded by all these beautiful professional women that were worshipping, 100 in number, that used to come to a satsang that I ran after teaching children. And I just sat one day and stared around the room, and I asked a question. And it was, perhaps I was talking in prayer. And I said, how powerful it would be to take everyone with their talents in this room and become a channel of service to those that didn't have anything. And 6 years ago, on the 3rd of July, I actually made a call to every sister that I know. And lots of people believe this term sister has come from my chats with hood background. But the reality is, when I say sister, it's not to be sounding crass. It is truly based on my own relationship with my sister, where the moment I defined relations that way, I don't believe that I'm competing with another woman. So that is why I call everybody sister. And it is actually, when I'm an NLP practitioner, where we learn how language can also change your thought. And very often it has been identifying with a woman first as sister that has enabled the good relations that I have with women. There's no competition between myself and another sister. So Light Workers is built very much on that philosophy. I know that there are certain weaknesses that I have in my character, one being that if I didn't have proper financial control of people with financial expertise, this organization wouldn't see 6 years of its existence. I know that I have a firm legal background and a firm head on my shoulders, but the reality is that I also have too big a heart. And I can count back to 6 years ago when I first saw the community that we were working with. And we were selling cupcakes at a Diwali show. Because of the Hindu work I was doing, I was called on to host the kiddies tent in a Diwali show in the Gauteng festival. And I tell you, there were children that we brought in on buses from Lenasia, and I wanted nothing more than to give those children the cupcakes. And it was, I think, our vice president at the time that said, Videsh, these cupcakes are for sale and we have to stick to that. So it was one of the very early lessons I learned in the organization, that if we are going to take it anywhere, I have to rely on the wealth of talent and power that surrounds me. And a great deal of that is every woman that has come on board in this organization. There's 100 volunteers right now, and there are 30 full-time members of the organization. And we're actually looking, because of the calls that we have received from Durban, to go into Durban and take projects on there too. So Light Workers has been a very transformative part of my journey in terms of establishing the relations in the communities in which I wanted to work and happened upon. And Light Workers has actually enabled the route of selfless service to women. And I marvel at the fact that the women that have joined are not doing selfless service for a guru. They're not doing it in a religious capacity. They probably are serving higher versions of themselves, but they are doing the work out of pure love. And selflessness.
Exactly. And I think selflessness comes out of that love
It
that
does.
they have.
It does.
That they have. And you're also with Johannesburg Institute of Social Services.
Yes.
And what do you do there?
Okay, so while I was at Light Workers, I first met the director, and I met the managing team from Lenasia. I think what drew me to them was sitting in a conference with them. It was an anti-drug conference. And I watched a social worker get up on stage and tell us about this child that was delivered outside her building. You know, a 9-year-old child drenched in a substance from head to toe. And that social worker said, when they tested the child, they found that she had 13 different samples of semen on her sperm. The child was delivered outside the offices by a man who had purchased her on the street for 30 rand at the time. And the social worker spoke about how she couldn't even go to bed with her husband that night because this child was in her head. And the story stuck with me, but being the individual that I am, I suffered sleepless nights just on hearing it secondhand. And I became involved with social services because they were the only institution responsible for the beneficiaries that we were serving as light workers in Lenasia. And I must always say that, speaking about being authentic, 6 years ago we could have had, egg on our face, absolute shame, because once we met this community and fell in love with them and saw the abject poverty, like professional women do, we hosted a meet and greet, we conducted a needs analysis, went out there with our laptops, and we filled needs for each family on 2 streets known as Electric Avenue in Lenasia. And lo and behold, 3 weeks later, when I started walking the circle just to check in on the families, I found everything that we had given was sold. And it was a lesson for us. We could have, saved whatever was left of our dignity and turned our backs. But if anything, it served as an impetus because we realized the full effect of the drug problem. So that's where the tie with Just came. And that is where we started being invited to all the institutions' events. And then from there, I think after the conference I spoke about, the anti-drug conference, I went back with Just and I canvassed using my legal background and all the knowledge I had about local drug action committees. Right. I remember so clearly canvassing at Department of Social Development for local drug action committee in Lenasia. I stuck with it for 6 months, creating that body, inviting the NPA, the Department of Health, SAPS, and all the individuals that are required for the body. On the eve of the elections, I feigned gastric flu because the reality was I wanted someone from the community to take over. And lo and behold, 6 years later, with the different people that had come on board and taken over chairpersonship, they are still battling the drug problem. Right. And I've watched children die in that time. Visiting homes, you see pictures of children that I knew 6 years ago that are no longer living. And I can speak to the absolute state of neglect in parenting in such communities because of the problems around addiction. And I know how hard it is for us as Indian people. We have the same problems in Chatsworth, we have the same problems in Phoenix as well. Yeah. To take ownership of a problem, we'd rather sweep things under the carpet, and I've never been that personality. So, my time at Just Now has been so wonderful because after 6 years of thorough involvement with the community, in October when I stepped into the role of marketing person for the body, because after working with them on events for 6 years, I realized they needed someone for marketing, they needed someone for fundraising, and nobody was doing any of it. And so when I went in, I was thankfully also allowed by our director to innovate programs. And that is where the real work began. So we started something called Family Talk, which was a weekly drug program done in partnership with a wonderful man that I met on this journey. His name is Puven, and Puven runs Safe Haven Rehab. I mean, the problems extend to the fact that we have children as young as 6 and 7 that already, they start with smoking at that age, and by 11 they're trying other things. In our communities, we had the boar aunties after school.
Of course.
Outside the school, selling figs and boar. In this community, there are dealers that are selling drugs to the children. Yeah. The teachers have no control in the schools because the teachers are told when they stop children from being dealers and runners for drug dealers, they're told, must I drive the skadonk that you are driving or be as successful as the dealer is around the corner? So even schools don't have any control of the situation. And for me, I think when we started attracting those people into social services, I mean, how wonderful is it that you can start to work with issues before they became problems?
Of course.
So we leaped into this huge sector that wasn't really explored in the preventative counseling. So we started bringing people in on family talk program. The same people said, Videsh, this is really good for us. Can we do a Thursday with you? And then we started Thursday Women Empowerment. And from there, the ladies, I think, set a target. After now, remember, after 7 families being rehabilitated, they then went on to actually taking ownership of the problem and realizing they wanted a change through our empowerment program that I was running in October. Thankfully, another angel came on board. Her name is Leshma Maib Chand, and she runs Positive Lane as a life coach. And she said, Videsh, I want to do this as my Thursday offering. And so she comes every Thursday and leads the empowerment class on a Thursday, and that could free me up to do other things. So between us, I think we created a goal to actually take the ladies somewhere this year. And what they wanted to do was start their own businesses.
It's just the sewing.
So that is where the sewing came in. There, one of the things were we were donated a huge sum of money by a local golf club called PreyaG. In fact, I'm very, very thankful and appreciative of the golf clubs that have come to our assistance. PreyaG especially, they had provided us out of their Diwali golf day a contribution to actually continue our work. From there, we managed to we put people in rehab as light workers. We then now created the sewing group, bought machines for the women, and I think the most validating part of this entire experience is driving with the ladies in my car on a Monday morning to go and learn sewing. One of them said, Videsh, from now on, I'm going to dress as if I'm going to work. Now, if you consider where the mindset was in addiction, if you consider how far they've come in their self-empowerment, to come now to a stage where they have visions, dreams, and goals. And that is where we are in the empowerment, sewing empowerment. So much so that when I made a call to create a homework center, and thankfully our board had just, they wanted to support that call, we created a homework center for the children, and it is those very addicts that have been rehabilitated, that have had children die in the community, that have had children taken away from them, that are standing alongside me and serving. So it has actually come full circle.
It's an evolution.
It is. And
an evolution.
And there's nothing
Absolutely.
more marvelous than watching and being part of that journey.
Exactly.
No salary, no other purposeful work could bring such joy to anybody.
Well, in terms of being authentic, we're really authentic because we're filming in the middle of my lounge on my couch.
While
we can have my son screaming in the background because he also wants to be on this video.
Shame. We should have that.
But Videshni, this weekend there is an amazing women's breakfast.
Yes.
And a networking session.
Yeah.
That's happening. Do you want to tell us about it, and where can people obtain, or women obtain, these tickets, and why women?
Okay. So because we run everything around women, and because the focus is on women in our organization, especially for the upliftment of social conditions of women and children, our partnership with GIS, I'm speaking now between light workers and GIS, being on both ends, because I serve only the beneficiaries, and I would work with any organization that is serving the beneficiaries. So that's where my loyalty lies. And out of that partnership, we've decided to fashion this entire event around women that have actually now, and I'm so glad to say even our sewing team will feature at that event. We have the designer that is teaching the sewing on board, and she's running a fashion show. We want to bring women on board to tell them about the work, and of course we believe in empowering and supporting other women. you know, a large part of social services is empowerment at the end of the day. Because if you do things like family reunification, a family can really only survive on someone being financially stable.
Right.
And so empowerment in general is about being financially stable. So I think that is what the focus of this event is about. It's just a morning to come and relax. Lots of people ask me about the price of the tickets, and you know, realistically, when we take children out to the movies, we are paying 350 rand.
Oh, sometimes
for,
600.
Yes, for the movie, for the
Exactly.
popcorn. And when I ask people to pay 350 towards a fundraising for social services, nobody wants to commit, you know, and it's
Yeah.
impossible to drive fundraising when people live disconnected.
Of course.
So we have to realize, if we can become so affected by all the social problems, let's hold the hands of organizations that are in the ring, in the fire every day. Let's support institutions like social
so
services.
If people cannot attend the breakfast, they're very welcome to sponsor a person.
Yes.
To attend the breakfast. Where is the breakfast?
So the breakfast is, thankfully, the venue for this breakfast has been sponsored by Pearl Harbor themselves. We have some great prizes, and we have a wonderful spa treatment on offer from Moana Spa. We have an overnight stay that has been sponsored. We have fabulous gifts from Burgundy Lane. The lady from Luray Lodge has actually given us accommodation, breakfast, and a spa voucher.
Wow.
So the prizes are fantastic. And if you actually want to be part of a solution to what is happening in this country, I would say support the organizations that are doing this work on a daily basis. My entire motivation behind sacrificing time for social services is the fact that the Department of Social Development only give us professional salaries. Everything else, the operational costs, the running expenses, even putting petrol in the social workers' cars, comes out of the organization. The programs that we want to run, everything stems from the fact that we have to source money from the private sector
Of course.
and business. And that is why, you know, even running a homework center, which has become such a viable solution for community problems, because we're feeding children and doing homework with them,
Yes.
whereas at home they're busy learning about how to take drugs. You know, we're creating such marvelous interventions, but we need support.
So Videsh, if there are people out there that want to support, firstly, the breakfast is happening in Lone Hill.
Yes.
In Johannesburg. So if you want to purchase a ticket, we're going to leave Videshni's details. And if people want to support the organization, they can contact you to find out exactly what you need.
Yes.
Sometimes it may not be funds. Sometimes it may be transportation from one end of, or from here to Lens or to wherever, to
Thank you.
transport furniture or to transport a social worker. And those are the kind of things that you need. So it's not necessarily finances all the time.
No.
It's actually just doing the work and having to transport somebody from one place to another. And it's that those are the things that make a difference.
Exactly.
Those are the things that kind of sew they're the needle and the cotton that actually sews the garments together. And if you can do that, I think it will make a world of difference if everybody comes together to be in that chain and hold hands to actually form that circle. And Videsh, what is your contact details?
Okay, so I can be contacted via my cell phone on 084 587 5275. I also have an email address at JIS, which is videshnisingh.jis@gmail.com. And please, after learning about vulnerability around vehicles in the last 2 weeks, transport is a huge issue for everything that we are trying to basically run out of JIS. So if there are people that have funds and contacts for vehicles and the like, please, that would be a boon to this organization.
So before we end, Videshni, we want to say a huge congratulations to you. Amongst the many awards that you've received, you've recently received an award for being one of Gauteng's most influential women. And I hope that will open doors for you. And I think you are so deserving of the awards. You do so much in the community. We are really, really thankful. And I think, I hope that this vlog that goes out to the people is just going to open new avenues and be able to help the organization in so many ways, and to just help people out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Preya, for having me. I feel blessed by all the connections I've made, most important, you.
And you. And I remember you said that I'm your soul sister, and I said, chicken licken, let's leave it out. And we said, we're sisters of the soul, not soul sisters.
Agreed, sisters of the soul.
So guys, thank you for following the blog, and until next time, do the things.